الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد.
Thank you. I'm going to get you to stop now. I think the kids are having a great time waving and gurgling at each other. Salams, everybody. I'm El Farouk Haki.
I'm on Tajali Moondragon Khaki Jackson.
There you go. That's Tajali Moondragon Khaki Jackson. And who are you?
Troy Jackson.
And we were going to start, as we always do or often do, our larger public programs with the Indigenous smudge. This is a fairly regular tradition in Canada. I'm not sure what it is in the United States or in other parts of the world. But it's to recognize that we are on native and indigenous land here in North America, and to recognize the First Nations and their spirituality as a grounding of our space and our place. However, I know that Elder Wabagun has been experiencing some family distress. Her partner's mother is terminal. And so I know that there has been some issue with that, which has passed, yes, and that they are not actually in Toronto. So there could have been something that's come up, which is why Elder Wabagun is not able to be with us. Instead, what we will do in order to bring us into ritual purity together is that after this introduction and before the Eid Salat, we will have Amar lead us in dry wudu, tayammum, and this is to make sure that we're all in the same place of ritual purity for this one prayer, all right? So my introduction was going to be to introduce our elder and to explain the tradition to you. Unfortunately, our elder is not here today, so inshallah all is well. This is our second joint venture with Muslims for Progressive Values. When Allah in the Quran says with adversity comes ease, then maybe this is the ease that has come with the adversity of COVID, which is to strengthen our ties across borders through the technology that we have available to us. And so we're looking now at a global community with over 400 people who've registered. There's over 225 participants online right now from 6 continents, alhamdulillah. So we are a global Jamaat, we are a global community. All ethnicities, all orientations, all genders, all colors, and so many languages. So alhamdulillah. We have an interesting and hopefully a program that's gonna keep you coming back for more events, because I think we'll continue to do something online now that we have this technology to continue to keep building our global ummah, our global Jamaat. After the Eid Salat, we are going to have our Fatiha. This is a tradition that comes to us from the Nur Ashki Jarahi Sufi community. There will be 40 some odd dedications. There are assigned readers for each of those dedications. And then after all of those dedications have been read, we will read Fatiha together. After that will be the khutbah, and our imam and our khatib for today is Dr. Amina Wadud, also known as the Lady Imam. I'm going to let Ani take over and introduce our khatib and imam. Ani, are you gonna take over? Where are you? I'm online by myself. It's a trick.
unable to unmute myself, but here I am. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning, this afternoon, this evening, and it's really exciting to be seeing such a global community. I'm happy to be introducing to you Dr. Amina Wadud, who's the retired professor of Islamic Studies. And for me personally, Dr. Amina Wadud is iconic in so many ways. When she did her prayer in 2005, my daughter was 7 at that time, her response was, well, it's about time, seeing a woman lead a congregation in prayer. This is really extra special for me. Dr. Amina Wadud is the visiting scholar at Star King's School for the Ministry. She's an author of Quran and Women and Inside the Gender Jihad, currently living in Indonesia, and she's best known as the Lady Imam. And with that, we'll lead Dr. Amina Wadud. Please lead us into prayer. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. I just want to remind you that in the first rakat or unit of prayer, there will be 7 takbirat, or 7 times that I will say Allahu Akbar. The first one will be to start the prayer, and then 6 more in succession. And then when I stand back up from prostration for the second rakat or second unit, there will be 6, including the one that I will use to stand from prostration to standing, and then 5 more, just as a reminder. As-salatu jamia.
Amina, hang on. I'm going to suggest you just wait a minute, just so that people, hi, my love. Eid Mubarak. I'm just going to ask you, just wait a second so people can get their prayer rugs and stuff in place in case they haven't. Let's give people 30 seconds to do that. Okay, cool. All right, go ahead, please.
As-salatu jamia. Allahu Akbar. 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 Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والسماء وطارق وما أدراك ما طارق والنجم ثاقب إن كل نفس لما عليها حافظ فلينظر الإنسان مما خلق من ماء دافق يخرج من بين صلب وترائب إنه على رجه لقادر يوم تبلى السرائر فما لهم من قوة ولا نصر والسماء ذات الرجع والأرض ذات الصدع إنه لقول الفصل وإنهم يكيدون كيدا وأكيد كيدا فمحيه الكافرين أمهلهم رويدا الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر 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 بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله
Eid Mubarak, everybody. Thank you, Amina. Allahu Akbar. So we're going to move into the Fatiha dedications. And as I said earlier, this is a tradition that has come into the Unity Mosque from the Nur Ashki Jarahi Sufi community based out of New York. We have an introduction, and then we have the Fatiha, and in between the two we have approximately 40 some dedications. And towards our vision of 6 continents, 1 ummah, we reached out and we've got approximately 11 or 12 community partner organizations from around the world that have joined us in our Eid celebration. And so when we were looking at the list of participants, of registrants, we literally have people from every continent except Antarctica that registered and that presumably are online with us today. So I'm going to invite Shams. Shams, are you online?
I'm here. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. All right. So you have the text, and so after you do the introduction, folks who know that you are readers, please don't wait for anyone to prompt you. I will prompt people if there is a lag or if there is a lack of clarity or some kind of confusion.
All of your animals.
Thank you. So please begin.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and Eid al Hajj Mubarak. I'm so happy to be with you virtually and on the spirit plane. It's so great. And when we talk about the Fatiha, this is the opening chapter of the Quran. Al-Fatiha means literally the opening. And it's also an opener to our hearts. It's a summary of the Quran, many feel, in 7 lines, and allows us to open ourselves to the majesty of the eternal Quran. Now, usually when we have our regular Jummah, we ask for individuals to give al-Fatiha requests, to request that other people join them in making dua about challenges in their lives or things they want to happen or acknowledgements or celebrations. But because of our large service today, we're going to have members of the Unity Mosque, members of the Muslims for Progressive Values, and some of the trailblazers of our movement for inclusive Islam to offer pre-made Fatiha. And we also know that there are Fatiha within the heart, and those will be joined as well. So thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Assalamu alaikum. A Fatiha for all the prophets, messengers, reformers, guides, and teachers that have been sent to humanity through the ages.
And the next reader is Sabat. Sabat, are you online?
Yes. And Fatiha of gratitude to the peoples, elders, and guides of the indigenous peoples, as stewards of Turtle Island for allowing us to live, work, pray, and celebrate on their traditional territories.
Assalamu alaikum. Fatiha of thanks and gratitude for spaces like Al Tawhid, Jum'ah Circle, the Unity Mosque, and Muslim Progressive Value for their well-being and growth, and the growth of inclusive, spiritual, and religious Muslim spaces.
And I'm going to ask the Fatiha readers if they're representing an organization to identify themselves. And this is Zubi, who is from Singapore and founder of Healing Circle and one of our community partners today. So go ahead, Leela.
A Fatiha for those here for their first time in an inclusive and affirming Muslim space, for those who for the first time feel included, and those celebrating themselves in an affirming space. MashaAllah.
Thank you. And now Zaina Anwar. Are you with us, Zaina?
Okay, sorry. You need to unmute me?
You're unmuted. We need to see
Okay.
you. We need to see you if we can do that.
Okay, hold on. Okay, great. This is a Fatiha of thanks for the food we have to eat and share, remembering those who are hungry and without food, some who are our neighbors, and those around the world.
Fatiha for those that follow the path of Islam or another wisdom tradition in the different ways that they may be following their faith, that Allah make it easy for them and accept their intentions.
Thank you. I have Frank and Jean as the next readers. Are you online, Frank and Jean?
I have invited Frank to unmute.
In the lower left.
Yes, yes. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak.
How are you?
Good. Do you have your Fatiha reading?
No, I do not.
Okay, look in the chat. It's there because you didn't look at my email. Look in the chat box. It's your reading is right there.
The water from which all life comes. Where'd it go? Oh my goodness. I'm sorry.
And the water protectors, tree huggers, and Mother Earth lovers.
Jean to the rescue. Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
Story of my life.
And Moral is next, and then Ann Holmes Redding.
Al-Fatiha for all those without safe and clean drinking water. A shout out to indigenous communities across Canada. Fatiha for all those who are thirsty.
Fatiha for Sayyidina Hajar alayhi salam, a defiant, nonconformist, outcast Black African woman, an ideal immigrant, an active agent of social change, an environmentalist and water protector, a single mother who ensured a life and future for her child, an enslaved royal who built a city, and the spiritual mother to billions.
And our next reader is Sheikha Nizamun Nisa Aida Hussein of the Inayati.
A Fatiha of gratitude for Hajar, salam, and the gifts of Zamzam and the Sunnah of the Hajj, the founder and the foundations of the city of Makkah, and thereby of Islamic civilization.
I'm Fatima Raven Thompson. I'm an activist for gender inclusive prayer spaces, gender equity. Fatiha for all pilgrims who have performed the Hajj or the Umrah in Hajar's footsteps. May their sincerity be rewarded and their prayers answered.
And Samia, are you online?
I am.
All right. Hey, love.
Samia El-Muslimani from Cherry Street Mosque Study Circle in Seattle, Washington. Fatiha for Hajar alayhi salam and all those who have struggled and those who continue to struggle and resist to provide water and ensure life for their children and their wards.
Thank you. Umaima, I saw that you had come on.
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yes, are you on? And this is your, we're going to put your reading. I'm not sure that you have seen the email that went out.
Yes, yes.
Yes, you did? Okay, so, excellent.
Okay.
Go ahead, Umaima.
the Fatiha for Hajar, single mothers, single caregivers, parents, and nurturers of all genders.
And our next reader is Fatima Nordin, followed by Nicole Alexander, followed by somebody from Iman. So Fatima Nordin.
I can't find Fatima Nordin on our list.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Unless Fatima goes by another name.
It's Fatima for Positively Muslim is how it's on the registration, but
I think we're having some difficulty. I can step in and read her Fatiha.
yeah, you're gonna be the Fatima, the Maryam, the Aisha, the Muhammad, and everybody else. So
a Fatiha for Ismail, as for teaching us that children are our amanat, not our possessions or our property, let alone ours to sacrifice.
And Nicole, thank you. And Nicole Alexander, are you on?
Mute. Okay. Fatiha for all the children of the world, that they may know love, safety, and security, that they may know a life filled with peace, love, and light.
Thank you. Welcome to our community, Nicole. It's nice to see your face. It's my first time seeing you. And Nicole is
Thank you so much.
And Nicole is the convener of Al Fitra Foundation, also operating as Inner Circle in Cape Town, South Africa. And she's also representing Pride Shelter Trust, which is a shelter for queer youth, queer and trans youth. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. There's supposed to be, the next person is supposed to be representing Iman, LGBT Muslim group out of the UK, but I'm not sure that I have somebody online for that. Ani, can you post the Fatiha number 16 in the chat for me? Is there anyone from Iman online?
I posted it.
Anyone from Iman online to read this dedication on Iman's behalf? No. Okay, I'll read it. Fatiha for those brutalized, abused, and killed in the name of honor, and all victims of crimes of passion. All right, and then the next reader is Nasreen. Nasreen Pak.
Yes. Fatiha for all the animals who have been sacrificed this Eid. May their blood not have been shed in vain.
Fatiha for all the animals living and dying in cruelty, and an end to the cruelty of factory farming. May the animals have relief.
Adnan. Is Adnan online?
Yes, and I've asked to unmute. Sayed Adnan, if you just accept the request to unmute.
But it is very loud here. Yeah, it's okay, Adnan. Even if it's loud, just go for it. Oh, could you honor me by being Adnan? Aisha, can you be Adnan?
Okay. A Fatiha for those in our vast world facing violence, war, and oppression of any kind, for political prisoners fighting for peace. A shout out to environment and water protectors, the Rohingya Muslims, Kashmiri Muslims, the people of Palestine, Afghanistan, and of Yemen.
Thank you. Ibtisam?
It's not online. Aisha, can you fill in?
Okay. A Fatiha for as well as to the Muslims in China in internment camps, the democracy activists in Hong Kong, and so many others around the world, and right here on Turtle Island.
Thank you. And Yvonne, and then Batul, and then Wahida.
A Fatiha for those who have had to flee in search of safety and dignity,
for the refugees among us and around the world.
And Batul is next.
Fatiha for indigenous people around the world facing genocide and prejudice, for murdered and disappeared Aboriginal women, for the many unknown and unnamed, may they find justice and their families find peace.
And Wahida?
Wahida is not here.
Oh, okay. I will read this one then. For the victims of hate and racism, for Black Lives Matter and all movements fighting to dismantle racism, for Lionel Morris, this is a murder that just came to light in the last couple of days from back in February, a murder by police in the same way as George Floyd. Ahmed Arbery, Regis Korchinski Paquette, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Clive Mensa, Kavan Ruffin, and countless other victims of anti-Black racism. For the many unknown and unnamed, may they find justice and their families find peace. And Nasiha, you are next, followed by Andres.
Salam. Fatiha for those who endure and for those that stand against and resist racism, prejudice, and oppression in its many forms. For silent no more, Black Lives Matter, the water and land protectors, journalists, and others in prison for their resistance. A shout out for child political prisoners such as Ahid Tamimi.
Thank you.
Salam alaikum. A Fatiha for the diversity of families, for our families of birth and our families of choice.
Salams everyone, I'm Farheen. Eid Mubarak from Hamilton. Al-Fatiha for those without parental figures and caregivers, for orphan children and for orphan elderly, for the abandoned and the isolated. May they know that they are loved.
Thank you, Farheen. Is Blair with us? Blair Imani?
Blair is not with us.
Okay. I can read this one. Fatiha for the diversity of genders, sexualities, colors of our skin, languages, traditions, stories, and songs. And our next reader is Samra Habib.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, Eid Mubarak. Fatiha for all those who are two-spirited, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex.
And congratulations to you on your book award. Tell us the name. Not everybody knows who you are. What's your book and what's the award you got?
The latest award is Canada Reads. It's for my book called We Have Always Been Here. It's a queer Muslim memoir. And Canada Reads, for folks who don't know, it's kind of, I don't know, it's like a national celebration of like books, and it's like a CBC TV show, and judges pick a book that they feel everyone in Canada should read. So I'm honored that they picked like a queer Muslim memoir, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And is Shruki with us?
No, there is a Shruk al-Adha, but I think that's a different person.
I don't know.
I don't mind reading it.
No, it's the right person.
It is the same for, okay, there we go. Okay, ask it.
Because, you know, I think the online name is Shruki Al-Masri, the Egyptian. So I think it's just a nom de plume. So yeah, if you can unmute Shruki. I'm so glad you made it. Hi, love.
Assalamu alaikum. Hi.
Hello.
My name is Shruki Al-Adha. I'm an LGBT rights activist from Egypt. So I'd actually like to read this in both English and Arabic, if that's okay.
Yes, that's fine. Please do.
Thank you. Shukran. Fatiha for two-spirited LGBT plus Q people to know a reality free of abuse, discrimination, and violence, including spiritual violence and conversion therapy. فاتحة للأشخاص من مجتمع الميم لمعرفة واقع خالي من الإساءة والتمييز والعنف بما في ذلك العنف الروحي والعلاج التحويل. شكرا. Thank you.
Thank you, love. And Kevin, you're next.
Assalamu alaikum wa Eid Mubarak. Fatiha for the poor and for their dignity from the injustices of poverty, homelessness, hunger, and forced and indentured labor.
Thanks, Kevin. Glad you're with us today. And Fanta, are you online? Were you able to get on?
Yes.
Alhamdulillah.
Salam alaikum, everybody. I'm Fanta Ongoiba, and I work with Africans in Partnership Against AIDS, a partner of Unity Mosque for many, many years. And Eid Mubarak to everybody. Fatiha for those children, women, and men who are enslaved and trafficked. May they know freedom.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Eid Mubarak. I'm Fazia Talib from Ottawa. I'm representing today the Canadian Council of Muslim Women, CCMW. I'm also a member of the Ottawa Valley Unity Mosque here in Ottawa. Fatiha for all the victims and survivors of gender-based violence, including female genital mutilation and forced marriage. Thank you.
Thank you. Raquel, you better be online, Raquel. You better hear me.
Eid Mubarak, everyone. Fatiha for those facing health concerns, including disabilities, injuries, eating disorders, and mental health issues.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Eid Mubarak. Fatiha for those who have recently died, especially remembering those who have died or are sick due to COVID. From God we come, and to God we return. And all those who are suffering, displaced, disposed, and impoverished due to COVID, cancer, illness, and infections.
The next one we have for Ali Ikram, I can't find online.
Is there a representative of NAS Pakistan online? There was some confusion about people don't read their messages, right? So.
If you're from NAS Pakistan, you can raise your hand. Otherwise, Simon and I are happy to do it.
Hey, Simon.
Eid Mubarak. Fatiha for those living with HIV/AIDS, for access to healthcare, and for freedom from stigma and discrimination.
Perfect. Thank you. And the next reader is Mariam Nazemi. Is Mariam with us?
Mariam is also not with us unless under another name.
No. Okay, I can read this one. Fatiha for those living with debilitating and or terminal illness or injuries. May they know relief and comfort. And Juan, are you with us?
Our lovely Juan does not appear to be online at the moment.
Yeah, he sent me a message saying that he was having some difficulty and he wasn't sure that he was going to be here. So why doesn't Kelly is doing the next one? Why doesn't Kelly do the number 36, number 37, and number 38? Kelly?
Hi. A Fatiha for all those who are suffering, displaced, dispossessed, or impoverished due to oppressive regimes and leaders. Fatiha for the politicians, that they may open their hearts to the common good rather than pander to petty and hateful interests that seek to divide people, cause fear, and even incite violence.
No small coincidence that you are American and you're reading this dedication, right?
And in Georgia too.
Is Nasser Hamada online?
Yes, I am. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
You woke up in time. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Dedicate the Fatiha for all the children of the world, that they may have love or no love, safety and security, that they may know a life filled with peace, love, and light.
For all of our relations. All right. And Liana, are you online? Thank you, Nasser.
Yes, I'm here. Alhamdulillah. Fatiha for Mother Earth, for her healing, and for all the animals, two-legged, four-legged, crawlers, slitherers, swimmers, and more, and all the plants and minerals.
Thank you. Uma.
Uma does not appear to be online at the moment.
Oh, she was online.
Maybe we...
Uma, are you not with us still? She was with us in the beginning. Okay. Oh, she's here.
Oh, different spelling. Sorry, you had
yeah.
a double O. There we go. There you are, Uma.
Eid Mubarak. Fatiha for justice, freedom, and dignity for all God's creations.
Thank you. And Paul Armstrong from the Association of British Muslims, one of our community partners. Paul, I saw you online earlier.
Assalamu alaikum. Good to see you, Farouk, and good to see everybody. Just a Fatiha for everybody and for all the different communities of life on our planet.
Okay. Sarah, you're up next.
Salams everyone. I'm representing Salam Canada today. Fatiha for those who couldn't be here today but wanted to be here. We were thinking of you. For those who don't know about our communities or did not know about this event or are just not there yet, may Allah guide you here. Ameen.
A Fatiha for all the spoken requests and for all the unspoken requests which we hold closest to our hearts. May Allah grant us peace and what is best for us. Ameen. I'm now going to invite Latifa to lead us in the recitation of the Fatiha in Arabic, and then Amira will share with us the interpretation that is used at the Unity Mosque. So for all of our requests, asked and unasked, spoken and unspoken, for all of us and our loved ones, for all those here today and all those who couldn't be. Ameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad. Latifa, all yours.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I take refuge with Allah from the one who tempts us away from the truth. In the name of Allah, the tenderly compassionate, the infinitely loving. Praise Allah, nourishing sustainer of all the worlds, the tenderly compassionate, the infinitely loving. Possessor of the day of awakening, you alone we serve, and you alone we turn to for help. Guide us on the direct path of illumination and discovery, the path of those who accept your sublime guidance, not the path of those overshadowed by their own anger, and not of those who wander away. Ameen.
So this brings us to the end of the Fatiha dedications and the Fatiha. Thank you, everybody. And now I turn it over to our Khatib to share her khutbah with us. I'm assuming our Khatib hasn't left the room.
I was mute, that's all. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I begin, as I always begin, in the name of Allah, whose grace I seek in this and all other matters. Everything is a story. The narrators of stories that shape our theology and community always narrate from their own location. For example, the Black church of my youth, the story of Moses was told as part of Black freedom struggles towards human dignity. struggles that conscientiously moved away from the pervasive white supremacy, violence, and control. Never mind, Moses was a Middle Eastern man whose descendants today participate in various forms of oppression, like the occupation of Palestinians in their own homeland, and in the form of anti-Black racism in North America, because you know, Black Lives Matter. Still, in Black religious communities, we accepted that story as a reflection of our lives collectively. So much so that we were not afraid to cast it in the guise of a woman. The great Harriet Tubman was named Moses. So what is today's story? What is the story of Muslim Eid al Adha? While preparing these notes, I already saw a few posts online that confirmed the tendency to shape this story only in its most patriarchal narrative, that this day is only about Ibrahim and his son Ismail upon the to-be peace. How easily Muslims forget about Hajj. How do we cast the story of Hajj in such a way that she is the narrator of her own experience, the writer of her own story? First, let me tell you what I mean by patriarchal narratives. The year I had a position at Harvard University as a research scholar in the Divinity School, I did not find a Muslim community or mosque convenient for the whole of that year. Still, I made an effort to just attend for the two Eid. On Eid al Adha, I selected a random place near enough to where I was living, a mosque in Quincy, Massachusetts. In his Eid khutbah, the male imam went on at length about the power provoked in an image in his story of Ibrahim alayhi salam as a man who circumcised himself without anesthesia. He was not talking to me. Although ostensibly this was a family occasion with others than just cis men. Let's face it, centering the sacred celebration around the story of male genitalia was seen as appropriate in this public performance, even while it meant closing off, making invisible, inaudible, inconsequential those of us who do not have the same genitalia. Let me just stop right here to note that my having pointed this out can now be used as fodder to cast me as deviant, because the onus on my having pointed it out is more important than having that be the story in the first place. That was 1999. Before that, in the year between 1993 and 1994, the United Nations designated the Year of the Family. Coincidentally, this was 1 year before the Beijing Conference on Women, and in the same year that I would first be invited to embody an ethics of gender inclusion in Islamic ritual by giving a Friday khutbah. Many of us would question who defines family here. How is family defined, and whose families are left out or made subaltern in these definitions? I mean, you can't just say family and presume everyone experiences these the same way. Sure enough, the popular idea about family that was being promoted was in line with the nuclear family, a patriarchal institution in which a man takes a woman as wife. She performs reproduction and she provides free care for the children, the household, and the man. For this, she's given an honor. However, any kind of family beyond this has no honor. Thus, myself, as a single parent to 5 children, who at the time held a job in a profession, i.e. academia, that expected me to render those children invisible and inconsequential in order to meet the standards of that profession. I also continued, as I do today, to perform volunteer services for Muslim communities locally and internationally, virtual and in embodied terms. Still, it would be that same community that would castigate me for having the audacity to survive without a husband. Let me express this more succinctly. I was both father and mother to 5 souls. Each of these souls have and still continue to conceive of me and my parenting and my struggles as only important to the extent to which it fulfills their fantasy of what is a good mother. So a good mother must be both ensure that material needs are met, but to act as if they materialize by magic and not by effort in sometimes hostile outside conditions called the professional world. She must defer all of her spiritual well-being and the effort it takes to maintain them to the whims of those children and their wants, no matter how small or large, because at no point are those wants expected to be deferred, or I am also seen as failing. Meanwhile, the parts of me that must perform as father are resented, often even more than the absent father is, because these parts are seen as incongruent with being the good mother. I must nurture and set boundaries at one and the same time, knowing that together these are in contradiction, further spoiling the term mother. Between these 2 years, 1994 and 1999, I began in earnest to read, research, reflect, and reconstruct the story of our mother, Hajar, upon her be peace. In addition to public lectures around the world, I would compose the longest chapter in my second book, Inside the Ginger Jihad, with the title, Towards a New Hajar Paradigm. Fast forward another decade, and some Takfiri trolls and other so-called Muslim leaders would decide that 3 words about Abraham, alayhi salam, written in a sentence that forms a rhetorical question near the end of a short blog, that is that the blog itself was not about Ibrahim in the first place, but that was fodder to denounce all of my faith. Keep in mind, this blog was about Hajar, and it was specifically after my experience of the Hajj. Furthermore, while it was not about Ibrahim, alayhi salam, that rhetorical question near the end literally included Sarah in its questioning, the wife of Ibrahim, and it also included God, Allah. But none of these would matter as much as Ibrahim, alayhi salam. To this day, after more than 25 years on the story and related themes of Hajar, I have never written about Ibrahim. He is not the center of the stories that I tell. So despite the fact that 3 words about him is seen by enough such patriarchal readers as all that matters in all those 25 years, I point to this process as a clear confirmation that only certain stories or narratives matter in the patriarchal reading. Those who confer that only patriarchal narratives matter by then erasing the sum total of my Islam, my scholarship, my life, my right to speak, not only on behalf of Hajar, but also from a perspective intimately aligned with hers. These are not the topics of this good book. Hundreds of thousands of words of soul search and countless hours of research across time gets reduced to 3 words about a person I have never even written about. It simply shows what an imperative it is that we continue to look again and again at the story of Hajar, anew and from afar. We must reflect and critique the tendency to focus on him and him alone, not his wife Sarah, and not even God in that same sentence. Because it is pretty clear how patriarchal reading and storytelling has removed the story of Hajar from our Eid al Adha and Hajj celebrations. So let's go back to the story of Hajar. I will tell this story. It is a story about an aging couple, a wise patriarch and a barren old woman who, having accepted their failed reproduction and thus the absence of an heir to their household, availed themselves of a young slave girl as surrogate. In this telling of the story, we keep in mind that such a quest is centered on fertility. We can thereby imagine certain things about this slave girl. Number one, she's probably a virgin, because who wants to complicate matters by having her already within the range of sexual maturity and experience? Number two, she is probably young and healthy. Let's be frank. Child marriage would not be recognized as a form of statutory rape until our current generation. Another matter from the past that today we cast as evil without hesitation because our moral compass did not stop working as we gather new information and evidence from lived realities about the harm in the practice of the so-called child marriage. That it still goes on and is, in fact, is sanctioned in certain rural parts of the world, Muslim and non-Muslim, means that reflection on the story of Hajar habitually erases her age to sanction the story only from the perspective of the patriarch, the patriarchal family, and their quest for a male heir. So she was probably a teenager, inexperienced and without agency or consent. Let me repeat that part. Inexperienced without agency or consent. Because in my research and discussion, I often come across Black storytellers, Christian and Muslim, who try to clean up the matter of lacking consent by saying that there was some kind of marriage between her and Ibrahim, alayhi salam. Come on. This is the same kind of consent or marriage that my ancestors from Africa experienced when enslaved in the Americas, and which today leaves my DNA with a higher percentage of Irish blood than of all the other parts of my African ancestry. I don't know why the illusion that they were married plays so heavily in Black narratives of the Hajar story, but just because there is no record of her lack of consent allows us to ignore how important is consent when we talk about sexual intimacy. As a slave and a child, she probably had no idea that such a thing as consent mattered. It does. She was selected from amongst other slave women. They probably would not select a woman who already had children. That's too complicated. The underlying idea here was total possession of whatever child or children she would bear to be absorbed into the patriarchal household to which she was taken for surrogacy. Her life and her progeny belonged to that household with no moment of her consent. Keep that in mind. Her innocence was in their favor because this was a relationship of instrumentality. They were seeking a healthy young surrogate for the purpose of reproduction for the household. Still, and this for me is where the story gets most interesting, Hajar complies with all these external mandates. As such, according to Islamic law, she and her child are supposed to be cared for as the household is cared for. And they both are on the road to manumission because a mother of a child, due to sexual intercourse with her master, is granted freedom so long, is granted freedom as long as they wait for his death. At least that's what's there in Islamic law. My interest in this story is about who provides. Hajar and the child Ismail were supposed to be provided and cared for all the days of their lives. This is not in keeping with being walked in the desert and abandoned there without even enough water to survive. In the Muslim historical narratives of storytelling, she becomes mistress of the springs of Zamzam, and through her authority over this most precious resource, water, in the desert, she is then adopted into a local tribe. Okay, that works, sort of. But what my imagination has trouble with is that given the easy presumption that she was a very young woman while all this other stuff was going on, that she is, therefore, she would be prime pick relative to the quest of reproduction and fertility in Abraham's patriarchal household. So why would she never marry or even marry again and have more children? Sometimes then I give a different imagined backstory. In my imagination, Hajar, the mistress of the well, gets to marry by choice. She gets to experience what it is like to actually be in an intimate relationship of consent. Further, I imagine her giving birth to a daughter, a younger sister to Ismail, who grows up seeing what life is like for her elder brother because of his peculiar dad and the one who abandoned him and his mother. This sister has no holds over her to keep with this trumped up patriarchal narrative that does so much to erase Hajar, her enslavement, her youth, her lack of consent, and her abandonment, because as that blog entertained, this is not beholding of the benevolent God. And the only way we can believe in God is as if we are completely devoid of choice and agency, so must simply give up in total submission. That's why I never use the word submission for Islam. I use engaged surrender. We surrender to Allah, but we do so with the engagement of our agency. We obey, comply, and serve with choice and with consent. That leads me to a third and final theme. Who will speak for the motherless child, the parentless orphans, the childless couples, whether by choice or coercion? Who will recognize the mandate for chosen families over birth families? And not just who will speak, who will listen and learn? I would like to suggest that this can start by the reading and telling of stories centered on queer Muslim localities within the patriarchal hegemonic binary telling of sacred stories. So before I conclude, I want to tell you why queer stories figure so prominently for me. First, let me remind you, when or how will all stories matter? Year after year, we witnessed the telling of the story of Hajj minus any consideration of this noble woman, Hajar, and her survival with her child. A woman who experienced sex without consent and a family that abandons. Deadbeat dad, violent co-wife, all with a baby at the breast. Who is the Allah of these stories? If the woman has no voice, no face, made visible, no care for her survival, and yet who ran 7 times for her child, while no one else did? I think we get a clue when we look to see who answered. It was the divine feminine, the split open of the very earth beneath the desert upon which Mother Hajar ran. Or they say the water started to flow at the feet of her nursing son. This water that sprang forth is clean, drinkable water from the heart of the earth in the middle of the desert. Water of life. Water is life. Water sustains. Water provides us a resource, not only for her and the child, but for all of us, for every generation that travels to that dusty spot even today. These days we run in an air-conditioned pavilion, and where the story marks her running, the builders of that pavilion, the Saudi government, takes away from us the right to live as embodied Hajar. The signs that mark the place where Hajar, the woman, ran also state that women are prohibited from running. This was the motivation behind my blog, in which I asked a rhetorical question. At that place between the hills of Safa and Marwa, I have been told my life does not matter, and the life of our mother does not matter. It marks the place where we might begin to tell a story that challenges the rubric of patriarchal storytelling that seeks to erase what it must have meant when Hajar was frantic in her search, and so she ran. Because this is not the only place where women are prohibited in performing the Hajj. Women are prohibited from turning where they stand when the adhan for prayer doing tawaf around the Kaaba, circling counterclockwise, as if we are planets circling around our sun. Instead, when the adhan is called, women are shoved, I mean literally, by both male and female hands. We are pushed to one or two cordoned off sections constructed like contemporary animal pens, if you will. Only there are we permitted to pray. So while women make up at least half of the ummah, these pens are smaller than 1/20th of the platform or courtyard upon which the Kaaba stands. We are further excluded from praying anywhere on the entire first floor of Masjid al-Haram, except at the only part of the mosque from where the Kaaba cannot be seen, doorway number 89. Even as many of the doors of the mosque have names, this one is nameless. It is the only place where women are permitted to pray on the first floor of the main mosque. As we travel to Medina to Nabi, the city of the Prophet, Medina, women are denied the opportunity to give our salams to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to receive his in return, because access to his grave and of the two companions that are with him is also prohibited to us, no matter our goal or expectation. Make no mistake how all of this is linked to ignoring and erasing Hajar, denying women the full right of participating in the rites of Hajj by a combined nefarious plan that means at the ethical and theological level that access even to their patriarchal notion of Allah is limited to men. They and they alone have the authority to tell everyone else how much of Allah we have access to and who belongs to this Islam. That is why I must retell the story of Hajar from a radical inclusive perspective. That is why I must risk further ostracization if need be, because the implication of criticism against standard patriarchal modalities and even benevolent patriarchs is acted upon as if such patriarchs and patriarchal rubrics are all that matter. Exclusion from them warrants attack and counterattacks. But I will resist that reading of my faith, of my Lord Allah, my prophets, upon them be peace, and my mother Hajar. So before I close, I share with you how I came to confirm my negation of such a reading in most recent years. To do so, I must tell another story. The story of the virtues of queer sacred spaces. I have experienced this in these times. In the past 2 decades, we have evolved loving spaces in the worship of Allah that invokes the full humanity of all persons and all bodies. Spaces like the Unity Mosque in Toronto, the Inclusive Mosque Initiative of UK, or El Ghurba or South Africa, or the Inner Circle, or Muslims for Progressive Values. In these spaces, we not only do not invoke hierarchy beyond Allah over certain bodies, we instead invoke full equality of all humankind. So, I wish to give my gratitude to queer Muslim communities for the transformation that has been, for me, great in these days. Thank you, for showing everyone how it is to love Allah even when certain other parts of the so-called Muslim community have shown only hate, pretending that such could be in the name of Allah. Thank you for leading me to the understanding of what it must have been like for visitors to the Prophet Lut, carrying the divine light when they were met with others who had already been subjected to their wills in the town in the form of sexual violence, hate, and trolling. Once again, in the name of so-called community. Thank you for showing up. If you build it, they will come, I like to say. After these 2 decades of creating inclusive spaces, you have helped to deconstruct false notions of authority and rigid formulas of spiritual devotion, paving the way even for the women's mosque movements. Thank you for deciding that those rendered invisible matter, that Black lives matter, that queer bodies matter, that love wins, that Hajar is our mother and we will never abandon her in our struggle to reclaim family as an institution of love and care. Thank you for treating love and care as a priority over other formulas and intent regarding family. Thank you for modeling what for me and for others these many years has come to mean that you are my community. You are my life. You are my water in the desert. You are my sign or ayah of the divine. So yes, I thank you. Every day, and especially on this day as we return to think about Hajj and Hajar in the time of Corona. Stay blessed. Keep to the sacred light of love and grace. Thus, I will end here by reminding us that we are experiencing global protest and resistance. In addition to the Black Lives Matter movements, there are protests worldwide. Who is the God of the protesters? It cannot be that God that sits static on the stone throne with flowing white hair and white skin. I don't think so. The God of these protests is my God, the one who is the resistance itself, learning to talk back to themes that have robbed us of our humanity. By our resistance, we establish better human beings by putting the highest moral standards back on the table with Allah. Allah who gives us the divine breath of life that grows in us for learning and change, not for us to become compliant, obedient slaves in the way the story of Hajar is often blindly cast, or even that story of Abraham. He was not ordered to sacrifice his firstborn, Ismail, alayhi salam. The Quran says he said, I saw in a dream. Well, what? So God had to save his sorry ass from following up on that whim. Thus, I do not take for granted that a woman denied agency in every important thing in her life up to the moment that her plight is finally captured for posterity in the form of the search for life, for water, and the wells of Zamzam. All of a sudden, we can only talk about her story if we cast this as an act of surrender before a God who is putting her faith on trial. I'm not buying that. Instead, I buy into an ethic that says, if oppression and discrimination is lauded in an abusive language claiming to be God, then that makes God complicit with abuse. We must change that complicity with language about the loving God, who figures in these stories not only by saving Abraham's sorry ass before he kills his child, but also by making a way for this abandoned woman and her nursing child, that loving God of wisdom and gentle care who gave to our mother Hajar a divine feminine gift, clean water, in the desert. May our cups overflow with this sacred feminine. Thank you very much.
Whoa, Allahu Akbar. Takbir. Takbir. Takbir.
Takbir indeed. Thank you. I typed, I was laughing so hard. I'm in slides.
Awesome.
I mean, it's fantastic.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. There is a chatter of Allahu Akbars and requests for this khutbah. We will turn it into a video and make it available on YouTube and through our platforms in the next little while. So thank you.
Let me add one thing, Alfie. So just for everyone, that we will be having this transcribed and we will be having it translated in different languages. And so look out for MPs and Al Tahweed, Jamaat Circle's websites and notifications. Thank you.
And I think we're going to do the same thing for our Fatiha dedications in our effort to become truly international and inclusive and not just reach out to English speakers. So if you have translation skills, contact either Ani or myself, please, because we're always looking to develop our materials. So
help.
Yes, exactly. So now we move into our entertainment section. Do people want 5 minutes to stretch? Ani, what do you think?
I don't, but
okay.
5 minutes to you.
All right. We're going to start our entertainment section in a couple of minutes. We've got Troy, Simi, Sophia, yes, Moja Kaf, and Ani, I think in that order. Correct. So Urva was not able to join us. So Troy, are you ready to go? Yep, I can hear him downstairs. We're in separate places because we've got a 3-year-old who sometimes wants to talk with all of you folks as well. So so Troy, whenever you're ready. Okay, he needs to be unmuted. Can somebody unmute Troy?
Okay.
Got it?
Ready?
Where are you, husband?
Hold on. I'm here.
All right. Hey, go for it.
Okay. This song is dedicated to what's happening right now. It's dedicated to Black Lives Matter. It's dedicated to Idle No More. And it's also dedicated to the Arab Spring. This is dedicated to youth that dares. This is dedicated to powerful Black youth that puts their lives in danger and is fighting for our lives. So it goes like this. Tearing down these icons, 'cause we've seen them all before. Tearing down these icons because less is more. What are you waiting for? Colonial clowns still selling you. Remember that in all that you do. We're stepping down off that auction block because we don't like what we've got. My sovereign beings sail around with me. Turtle Island ancestors, they leading me. They say, bye, 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 bye. 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 They say, tearing down these icons, 'cause we've seen them all before. Tearing down these icons because less is more. What are you waiting for? Tearing down these icons. What do you have to say, to say, to say? Tearing down these icons. Don't want to wait one more day. 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 Thank you.
I'm not in front of my camera.
Here.
All right. All right, so our next person up is Simi. Thanks, Troy. Awesome. And Simi, where are you?
Am I unmuted?
You're unmuted. What are you going to do for us? Are you going to sing Naat or are you going to lead us in a zikr?
No, I want it. You said funky zikr. Let's do funky zikr.
Let's do funky
But because
zikr.
I want to get absolutely, it's so inclusive, but let's just really include everyone. So what I need you to tell me is, do you want like 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes? What do you want?
You've got 2 or 3 minutes.
2 or 3 minutes? Okay.
Yep.
So can everyone get into gallery view? And I just want us to really presence with one another, and just remember that even though this is Zoom, the light in your eyes, the light from everyone who has looked at you with ishq, with nur, with love, it's in your eyes. And the ones who looked at them, 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 all the way back, that light is in your eyes. And let's share it with one another. So I want you to really presence with one another, and we're just gonna do 2 minutes of dhikr. And the first one, it's the healing Bismillah. Sister came into our zikr and she was so in need of healing that I thought she can't wait 45 minutes from us to get from like the Bismillahs and the Astaghfirullahs and the blessings on the Prophet all the way to where we could say Ya Shafi. So somehow in that moment, this Bismillah that has the Shifa in it came up. So for the healing of the world, we'll do this one and a little bit of a Nur dhikr. And you can reach out with your eyes, with your hands, however you want. Flip screens, share it with everybody. So this is the Bismillah of Halima, who was my sister who came into my zikr in this state. And it goes, Bismillah, Bismillah Shafi, Bismillah, Allahu. And this is it. Use your breath, use your voices, use your eyes. Bismillah, Bismillah Shafi, Bismillah, Allahu, 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 Bismillah, Bismillah Shafi, Bismillah, Allahu. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala سيدنا محمد اللهم صل على مرشدنا محمد اللهم صل على حبيبنا محمد اللهم صل على شمس الضحى محمد. So let's send that light from our eyes. Whoever's on your screen, really, I want you during this to look at each one of them. Send that light from your eyes to their eyes. This is Allah Nurun ala Nur, Allah Nurun ala Nur, Allah Nurun ala Nur, Allah Nurun ala Nur, Allah Nurun ala Nurin ala Nurin ala Nur, Allah Nurun 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 ala Nur. ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وسلموا تسليما كثيرا.
Takbir, that was beautiful. I think, is it Sophia who's next, Ani?
Yes, that's correct. And Sean, you should be playing that video now.
Behind the curtain, put the microphone up, and I asked, if you want to know what a modern American Muslim woman looks like, and then I strutted. Put my hand on my hip with attitude, I said, it's me. I am one, I am Muslim. And then I sang.
Just pray and he'll arrive. Just pray and he'll arrive. Baba told me. Just pray and he'll arrive. Just pray and he'll arrive. Brother told me. Priez et il arrivera. Priez et il arrivera. Mama m'a dit. Salah, salah. But in the meantime. Just sing
Hi, Salam. Eid Mubarak. The first time I did this, it was like I was quenching my thirst for something that I had been so close to, but so far away from my whole life. Music was my child, the stage my home. It was like giving water from the waters of Zamzam to my child. It was right. I had arrived. Let's rewind a little bit. Born Salt Lake City, Utah, with 2 brothers, a French mother, Moroccan father, a dog, a cat, and the American dream. To be Mormon, to be Catholic, to be Muslim, to be atheist, the choice was mine. There was no compulsion in religion, my parents told us. Just be kind and open to one another. My brothers chose science. Islam chose me. Music chose me. I started with talent shows. I know what you're thinking. I won. No, not even close. Last place. All throughout middle school, lost. High school, lost. All the idol shows you can think of. No, thank you. What's your thing? We don't get you. Please exit that way. Nope. No. I'll answer your burning question. American Idol? No. La Khati La. The Voice? No. No. America's Got Talent? Thanks for coming in. Keep following your dreams. I was doing all the right things. I was singing in English. I was singing all the hit songs. I was even putting my hand to my ear like Mariah. I mean, I decided it was the time for a change. No more competitions. I wanted to write my own songs.
'Cause talk shows and magazines have much in common with the cover scene. Well, there's covers to cover, but it'll never make you feel better. I betrayed you, I'm sorry to say, but singing love songs of someone else's story to get paid. But I missed you, so I wrote this song. It was me who left you all alone.
I wanted to write an album. I had no money, no apartment. I had just broken up with the love of my life. But I had my heartbreak songs and I was gonna do it. Yes, I slept in my car quite a few nights. And I lived off of turkey and cheese sandwiches. I was living the dream. My all original music album, Heart and a Half, came out in 2014. This was my first child, my first baby. My baby needed to feast, needed to eat and drink. Songwriting competitions. I got to the chase. All 50 songwriting competitions I submitted to, lost. The word no started to sound a lot like some foreign language that I obviously did not understand. I still don't understand. No doesn't mean anything to me. God is closer to you than your jugular vein. So I leaned into God and I kept going. After graduating from the 3rd best music college in the country, I moved on to live performances. Now you're like, vamos, you got it. I wanted to open for the best. They all said no. Come back to us. Back to the drawing board. I began to study under Danielle Lopresti, the founder of San Diego Indie Fest. She was the first person who told me, embrace the unique and beautiful parts of who you are, which meant embracing my cultures and embracing my religion. I didn't want to. No one wants to hear me sing in Arabic. No one wants to hear that I'm Muslim. Despite my efforts against it, I came out. I came out Muslim. I came out French Moroccan. I came out feminist. I came out, I am woman, I am Muslim, I am American. Back to the pilgrimage I went. All those bands I wanted to open for, including Grammy Award winning artist Maya. The next 5 songwriting competitions, I won. Festivals and tours, all wanted me. All while exclaiming, I am woman, I am Muslim, I am American. Each person has their own pilgrimage and back, but I urge you, embrace the unique and beautiful parts of what makes you you, and go full steam ahead, no matter how hard the trail is.
I loved you, so I set you free. And still you'll always have a part of me. And if you don't miss me, you're not the one. So I'll take my love, my strength, and my God-given drive and give it all to myself.
Coming out Muslim. Yay, thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you, Sophia.
And now we have Moja. And Moja, are you, please unmute, Moja. Where are you? Simi, you're still online. I thought you had left. We're actually a few minutes in advance. I was going to actually ask you before Ani closes up. I think people would maybe like to hear another 2-3 minutes from you, but let's get Moja on there first, okay? And if you are willing and able. So where's Moja?
I'm right here.
All right, hey. You're in a nice sunny place. So what are you sharing with us today?
So from my book Hajar Poems, I'm so grateful that Dr. Amina Wadud wrote the preface to it. And you had asked me to select a few poems. The first one is called The Ka'ba's Lap. A low brick ledge extends the Ka'ba's perimeter in a half circle called the Hijr, the lap. The Kaaba used to be that big. Entering the lap breaks the count of 7 circlings because it is not the path around, it is the path inside. It is part of no ritual. It is Kaaba and it is not. Lore says Hajar and her son are buried in the Kaaba's lap, and so is a basket of green gems. No one knows if this is true. It is, and it is not. The Kaaba's lap is a ghost limb, our forgotten grandmother's arm, reaching around to make haven for the heartbroken, the tired, the ones unable to keep circling with the crowd, the orphans of the orphans' faith. Hajar's sandals. Behold, Safa and Marwa are among the symbols of God from the Quran. Hajar wedges her shoulder between the ledge of sky and slate of earth to save from a crushing fate herself and her son. We call the earth that mounds around her sandals Safa and Marwa. Holy these, God says, honor your mother's feet. Over the lava rock land, people settle, hardening into tribes and loyalties, walking in the grooves of Hajar's sandals and forgetting Hajar's ordeal. Hajar at the AIDS March. The mosque board members examine the dogma ID card of every supplicant at the door, run morality background checks on the impoverished and the ill. In the desert, with the boy dying, Hajar ran to the heights. Faith acts in her hands and feet. This matters, the firm flesh of now, the head in the crook of the arm, the downy notch of beauty, this world of God. Hajar is out, marching in the AIDS rally today. Finally, I would like to end with Hajar triumphant. It has a quote at the beginning from Prophet Muhammad: Islam began as a stranger and will return as a stranger. Hajar, Hajarat, Hajira, Hujirat. We don't even know your name. Our prophet traces his line to a black woman whom we know only by her function, to migrate, to be abandoned, holding out after hope of help and home, wholly vanish. Ha huna, ha ana. Here am I, Eve out of Eden, left only with the wahi of water and the task of helping another human being, Ismail, he who without Hajar is history. Hence, Islam, to surrender, begins with hijrah, alienation. Homo sapiens at ground zero, cast out in otherhood, motherhood, I and thou in the desert, having no hard rod of law to lean on for holiness, but only this flow between our fingers. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, so beautiful. I really like that line, the wahi of water. Beautiful, thank you. Creation is the first revelation. Simi, before Annie closes up for us, can you give us another 3 minutes? Can we unmute Simi, please?
I just sent in a request to unmute. You should have received it.
Yeah, I think I've read every poem in that book at least 100 times, but I've never heard you read them before, Mocha. And the wahi of water is just happening in my eyes right now. Mocha's been my friend since we were like 11 years old at ISNA youth camps.
Oh, our shady pasts.
Yeah. So, okay, so 3 minutes. Do you want more zikr, or do you want me to sing you something?
Do whatever, do whatever. Sing a knot, because I haven't heard you sing, so do that.
Okay, I'll sing a knot. ختم خیل انبیا خیر البشر خیر الورا هر ابتدا کی انتها خیر البشر خیر الوراء ختم خیل انبیا مشرق سے مغرب تک ضیا صلی علی بدر الدجا آرایش صبح مسا خیر البشر خیر الوراء ختم خیل انبیا O seal of the messengers, the fairest of creation, the goal of our beginnings, the fairest of creation. From earth's mantle to the heavenly throne, one shared destiny. From earth's mantle to the heavenly throne, one shared destiny, a chain of blessing and compassion, the fairest of creation, O seal of the prophets, the fairest of creation. قد سما سے ماورا قد سما سے ماورا کونین پر پھیلا ہوا ایک رحمتوں کا سلسلہ خیر البشر خیر الوراء ختم خیل انبیا جبریل اتى ليلة أسرى والرب دعاه لحضرة فمحمدنا هو سيدنا فالعز لنا لإجابته فمحمدنا هو سيدنا فالعز لنا لإجابته. You all know how it goes, so sing with me. Allahu, 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 Allah, Allahu, Allahu. La ilaha illallah. Assalamu alaikum. Eid Mubarak. I cooked my nihari and my chana all morning, and there was some feminist fire in that food, in those frying onions. Thank you. It's going to be incredible. And I love you all. Incredible to be with so many friends. Thank you. You honor me, El Farouk, having me here.
It must be
Annie.
it must be the onions that you are frying that are bringing tears to my eyes. So thank you.
Ishq onions.
Thank you. That was so beautiful.
Annie, it's yours.
All right. Everyone, I am going to sing the closing song, which is Prayer of Light. Just a heads up, after the song, we're going to do a group picture. If you are open to it, put your camera on so that Nasim will be we'll count it off and then get a few shots in, all right? Thank you. Salam alaikum, and thank you for being here. So I'll start the song Prayer of Light. Oh Allah, grant me light in my heart, light in my grave, light in front of me, light behind me, light to my right and light to my left, light above me, light below me, light in my bones. Oh, Allah, increase my light everywhere. Oh, Allah, grant me light in my heart. Ameen. Light on my skin and light in my hair, light in my flesh, light in my blood, light within myself, light on my tongue, light in my eyes, my ears, light in front of me, light behind me, increase my light. Oh, Allah, increase my light everywhere. Oh, And now, Nasim, do you want to count off for the pictures with everyone?
Can we say how beautiful that was, Annie, first? Thank you. Aren't we blessed as a community? So much beauty and so much talent, right? So alhamdulillah for that. So picture time. Nasim, do you want to take over? What do you want people to do?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. If you are interested in being in the photo, please go ahead and turn on your camera. I will, since as you can see, there's 3 pages of photos. I will go page by page and do a count of 3. So everyone, just be ready for the photo. This is the iconic Eid photo. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Stay smiling. Okay, give me 1 second.
Can you take that shot again since we didn't have this little blinky in there?
Yes. Let me do that one more time.
Amira Khan, we're taking pictures. Please.
1, 2, 3. Stay posed. Perfect. Everyone, I was gonna say everyone stay on your position, but it doesn't count here. Let me do one more time. All right. Everyone, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And then one more shot. Second. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay, let me do that one more time. That one's blurred. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Perfect. And then one more page. All right, last one. One, 2, 3. Oh, sorry, that rotated back. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Got it. I believe I got everyone. Thank you very much.
All right, everybody. Happy Eid. Thank you for joining us. May your weekend be beautiful. May your celebrations be joyous through these difficult times. Thank you for being with us today. As Ani said, the video of this will be uploaded. If you're on the Unity Mosque Facebook group, it's already been fed on a live feed, and so the recording will remain there. And I believe it'll be posted on YouTube and so on and so forth. I think what we'll try to do is we'll have a recording of the entire service, but we'll also try to just do the khutbah as well, or maybe in segments so that people can see bits as they go along. And so I think that's it. Ani, is there anything else? Did I miss anything?
No, you got it all, Farouk. I think it's been a really great partnership with you, and thank you for all the community partners that joined and every one of you who contributed in the al-Fatihas and the takbirs, and for your spirited participation here. It's been a blessing to be in this community and to be part of such an inclusive, growing Muslim community worldwide. Alhamdulillah, really, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Stay with us. Let's make that 6 continents or 7 continents, one ummah a reality, that at least we can get together a few times every year to come together to celebrate and share nur and ishq together. So, alhamdulillah.
Everyone, Assalamu alaikum.
Salam, Eid Mubarak.
Sean, can you hear me? You might want to stop the recording.